This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English. Episode number 191, baby. Oh yeah. In today's episode, I speak to a DJ. Yes, that is right. The first DJ to appear on Rock and Roll English. He is also a good friend of mine, again, like everyone on Rock and Roll English, and he goes by the name of DJ Solo. As you will find out, he is one of the poshest DJs that you will probably ever meet, but he is very, very rock and roll at the same time. So yes, the audio is a little bit difficult to understand, only a very little bit though. And remember, this is always good practice because when you go out to bars and stuff like this, you cannot hear people speaking so well. So it's good practice. And also there is a lot, and I mean a lot, of rock and roll vocabulary. It always happens with new guests, don't they? They bring new vocabulary, and that's exactly why we do this. So if you want to see this rock and roll vocabulary, remember, go to rockandrollenglish.com/episode 191. And I will obviously talk you through some of the vocabulary again at the end. But here is the conversation. Happy listening. DJ Solo, how are you today?
Hi, Martin. Very good, thanks. Thanks for having me on the show.
Great to have you. Another friend of mine from university, very similar to Clarification Charlie. You know Clarification Charlie, don't you, DJ Solo?
Yes, I know her very well. Almost too well. Yeah.
Nothing sexual, though. Nothing sexual, because we know that she is a happily married woman. Although you are a happily married man these days, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I mean, we're all getting there. Getting pretty grown up now.
Yeah.
Yeah, got married 1 year ago and 1 week. So we just had our first year anniversary. Was a recent anniversary.
I'm supposed to be getting married in a couple of months, but with the coronavirus, we don't know anymore. So let's keep our fingers crossed. So we actually lived together for 1 year, didn't we?
We did, yeah. Blenheim Road, Reading, near Cemetery Junction.
Yeah, it was pretty rock and roll. Probably one of the worst years of my life, mainly because people need to know that DJ Solo was quite a raver back in the day. So back in the good days. Are you still into the raving scene?
I'm more into the service side of the raving scene, and I'm not talking about the illicit service. I provide the music. A bit too old for the dance floor side. I mean, maybe once a year.
You've done that part, haven't you? You've earned your stripes, which is a nice vocabulary to say. You've done that. You've earned your stripes as if you were in the army. So you've done that and you've moved to the next level. So yeah, DJ Solo used to have this huge sound system, speakers that were bigger than me. And then it would be like a Tuesday night, you know, I was tucked up in bed by 10:30, being the rock and roll star I am. So a nice term there, tucked up in bed, cozy in bed, very happy to be in bed. Then at about 4 a.m, I would just hear dum, dum, dum. And I would think, is it an earthquake? Is the world ending? Oh no, it's just DJ Solo back with half of Reading that he's brought back with him to have a rave inside our house on a Tuesday night.
Oh, Martin, I can only apologise now. I was a different man back in those days, just determined to have fun, didn't really understand about what other people needed to do in their lives. And so, yeah, take this now, 10 years on, as a formal apology, and hope I can make it up to you this evening.
And let's just move on. Yeah. So when he said to make it up to you, to do something good for someone because they have done something bad. But don't worry, all has been forgiven, DJ Solo.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All has been forgiven. So do you know how we usually start the show here on Rock and Roll English? I know you've listened to a few episodes.
I have, but I've only listened to a couple, so I don't know how that is usually the case. I mean, is that always the way you start?
No, not talking about raves in the house. No, we normally actually start with a review, and I always ask the guest, do you think we have a review?
Yes, I reckon they have.
I'm sorry to burst your bubble here, so a nice term there as well to like ruin your fun, but we don't have any reviews at the moment. So again, this is always the point where I ask people to leave reviews. As I always mention, fake reviews are fine as well. Okay, as long as it's 5 stars on iTunes or Facebook or something, whatever you want. So not the greatest start here, but don't worry, the only way is up. And today we are talking about pronunciation, okay? Because people may have already noticed that DJ Solo, despite being a raver and a crazy man, has a rather posh accent. You make clarification Charlie look quite stupid, actually. She thinks that she's posh.
I know, and actually, to be honest, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to come on the show, because I'm also a very competitive person, and I hope Charlie listens to this and it makes her smile, or makes her blood boil, and we can meet up and chat about it.
So some nice rock and roll vocabulary there. To make her blood boil, to make her angry. So yeah, you can have a kind of posh off. So in English, when we do this, we put off after something. It basically means a competition. So you can have a posh competition. So yes, pronunciation is a big thing in England, isn't it? Because, you know, it sort of defines your class. I know it really shouldn't, but kind of what happens. What don't you think?
Yeah, and there are a few interesting facts actually about that. I've been reading up that...
He's come prepared. He's come prepared. There's some nice vocabulary as well when he said, I've been reading up on that. So doing some research. Okay, hit me.
Yeah,
Tell me.
The UK and the British Isles in general, there are 37 different dialects of the English language. So that's quite ridiculous considering the size of the nation. But the one which most people think of when they think of English is, I think it's known as Queen's English, or in a more sort of official way, that's actually just called Standard English. But very, very few people speak that. You might find a few lords, ladies, and royalty speaking like that.
Yeah, I don't know any lords. Have you come across any? So have you met any?
I've actually
got a few friends that are lords, a few ladies. Yeah,
I actually organised a stag party once with a viscount on it. And he
to tell you how sort of low working class I am, I don't even know what that is. Explain to the listeners and me what did you say, a viscount?
Yeah, so this is another interesting topic again. Actually, that a viscount is a type of lord. One of the lowest types of lords, so a bit of a...
Still a lord. Yeah. Doesn't matter how high of a lord you are. If you're a lord, you're a lord.
Yes, a viscount's job, officially, in the olden days, I suppose, was to, if you had some territory which had a border with another country, it was your duty to stock up enough army to protect the queen, your king and country.
Okay, right, nice. So when he said there to stock up, to like buy lots of something, we often say to stock up, like people in England are doing at the moment. They are stocking up on toilet paper because they're worried about this coronavirus, and because they don't have bidets, so they can't obviously wash their asses. But that kind of idea of looking after your own territory is kind of what happens in London now anyway, with the gang wars, doesn't it? You have like the London postcodes, you have like E1 against E2, so it you know, some things never change. I don't know if any lords are involved in the gang wars now in London though.
Only probably self-declared lords, but yeah, interestingly, I live in a part of London just north of Finsbury Park, which is actually quite a famously disputed territory between Tottenham and Wood Green gangs. I'm not sure why they fight, but they're very keen to control Wood Green, which is right in the middle.
I can imagine you getting involved in this gang war about who this Wood Green belongs to. No, it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to them. Fuck you.
It actually probably belongs to a lord, the freehold at least, and they're just fighting over the street.
Yeah, probably belongs to your friend that's one of those like really shit lords.
Yeah, a low lord.
A low lord, yeah. I've got a stat for you here as well. I've done my 5-minute research that I always do for this podcast, and 45% of people apparently say, of British people obviously, that they judge someone on their accent. 45% of people. And I think most of the other 55% said no, but they really meant yes anyway.
I agree, and I'm going to hold my hands up and say I also do the same. And I think anyone that claims that they don't is unaware of the bias that they have in their head.
Yes,
it's something that we all can't help, really.
Yeah, I completely agree. So it's a nice rock and roll vocabulary there again. The bias, help me out with this one, DJ Solo. Explain the bias for us. This is your moment, okay, in rock and roll English, to hit us with a definition.
All right. Okay, so bias, actually in its full term, known as a cognitive bias, is...
Oh wow, we're moving to the posh stuff here, aren't we? This is much more in depth than my explanation. So much more in depth, much more thorough, much more detailed.
Yeah, guilty as charged. I'll put it in simple terms though. A bias is essentially
for stupid people like me. Okay, I'm trying to understand as well. Okay, I'm doing my best here.
It's basically, it's a sort of like a shortcut in your brain which allows you to make very fast decisions, and it's part of our evolutionary history. So when you are standing in the jungle and you see a tiger running towards you, you don't have time to think, "Ooh, is that a tiger? Is it dangerous? Should I run or should I just hide?" Because by then they've caught you. So the bias essentially is a real shortcut where the brain just says, "Right, don't think about this one, just get out."
Just run.
Yeah.
And that's probably the same as well when a lord is talking to a low-class person like me and their brain just thinks, get away from this human now before he probably kills you. But
very sadly, I think that is what has happened due to years of social pressure. Yes.
Because one of the things about accents, actually, because obviously from my neck of the woods, so that's a nice term to say basically from where I'm from, many people don't pronounce their T's. So, for example, my name, all of my friends will always call me Martin. If I want to talk about water, everyone says water. And I always think if I'm talking to someone and I have to pronounce my T's, then I think, okay, I'm talking to a posh person here. Okay, put on your good voice.
I'm now trying to recall whether you pronounce your T's to me or not. I like to think I'm disarming enough where you can be your true self, Martin.
Yeah, I think I did when I first met you because I thought, oh wow, he's got a posh accent. But then when I saw that you were going to raves and like at 4:00 in the morning in some abandoned field in the middle of nowhere, I thought I think I can not pronounce my T's around this person.
I actually have another interesting bit of rock and roll English for people if you'd like to hear it.
Of course we would.
So some of the poshest people in the UK have a very sort of accent, and they do for a while when they're in their 20-somethings like to go raving as well, and it's commonly referred to as a rav.
That was good. That was very good. I enjoyed that a lot. So I've got a few posh words here as well. Apparently, if you're upper class, let me know if you've ever said this, people refer to what I would call the toilet as the lavatory.
Correct. And my mother will be very pleased to hear this because she has a real thing about the word toilet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and if I ever say that in her household, she gets rather annoyed. It's called the loo or the lavatory.
You know what? Those are the two terms that I have. So I will read. I've copied and pasted this, and it says, if you are upper class, you say lavatory or perhaps loo, but never toilet. That is what working class use. Yes,
and so I think that is kind of one of my biases, I'll have to admit. But obviously, I now realise that I love everyone. Regardless of what they use to call any object.
I would probably do the same if someone ever says to me, where's the bog? And you think, because a bog is really kind of vulgar way to refer to the toilets. Or even worse, if someone says the shitter, you think, oh, why? Why did you do that? There was no need to do that.
My grandmother, believe it or not, was even posher than my mother, who is even posher than me, used to say, I've got to go and spend a penny, because the public toilets, should we say, back in those days used to cost that much to use.
Ah, okay, that's interesting, yeah. Well, they've sort of brought that back in some of the stations in London. Not a penny. I think I don't know how much it is to go to the toilet, which I do find rather strange that you have to pay to go to the toilet.
I think charging for anybody to perform a human function so necessary is incredibly unfair.
Yeah, I agree. And especially when you're in a train station. I've had this many times in London, in Liverpool Street. You know, you've been out drinking. You always do the thing, if you leave the pub and you think, I could maybe do a piss now, but I think I'll be all right. And then after 2 minutes, you think, oh my God, I'm pissing my pants now.
This is so true.
And then you get to the train station, you have 10 minutes before your train, and you think, right, okay, I'm going to go to the toilet. And then they ask you for, like, I don't know, 50p, and you haven't got 50p, and you think, oh, what am I supposed to do now then?
Nobody carries coins anymore.
Exactly.
Said the posh man. But it's true. I mean, there's people in London especially, it's very, very cashless. So I suppose you could probably nowadays, rather than spend a penny, you could tap an oyster to go to the loo.
Yeah, do they do contactless in those toilets? I don't know.
I hope they're contactless. I certainly wouldn't want anyone touching mine.
Absolutely. So I do here as well have some a couple of lists of the so what the first one is, the top 10 accents British people find most attractive. Okay. And number 1 is French. Number 2, Italian. Number 3 is English, which I find strange because that's like saying I love my own accent.
I must say I'm a sucker for the French accent as well.
Yeah, so I'm a sucker for it. Like, I'm weak to that. I'm one of the people that love it.
Yes, exactly. It triggers my ASMR reflex.
Tell us about that. Remember, you're certainly talking to one stupid person in me, and maybe some of the other listeners are on my level. So you can't just say the AMSR and think we're going to understand what that means.
Well, I know you're not stupid, Martin, because I think you got a better result at university than I did, because I was raving too much. But
yeah, I think the reason is because I was in bed at 10:30, and you would, even I remember the DJ Solo going out on a Friday and coming back on a Tuesday. So just think about how his nights were.
Oh, you know what? That since she was down my spine now, which actually is interesting because that's kind of what an ASMR reflex does. ASMR stands for, get ready for this, Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, which is essentially...
I think I only understood 2 words out of 4 there, but anyway.
I actually don't know what some of those words mean, but I do know the feeling. It's when you have some sound that is so comforting to you that it sort of makes you feel cozy, like the rain pattering against the window.
Yeah, so just pattering, just sort of like just that the noise rain makes, just pattering against the window. And I have got another list here where it talks about the best accents in the UK. Actually, it uses the word sexiest accents in the UK. Okay,
which I guess is another word for best, really.
Also, and I can tell you the first accent on this list, so the sexiest in the UK, says Essex. Okay.
Ooh,
and
lucky you.
People will probably know that is where I am from. Okay, I didn't write the list, so whatever. I don't want to brag about it, so I don't want to brag. I don't want to show off and talk too much about it. Although I must admit, I did find other lists where Essex was right at the very bottom of the list. But if you do enough searching on Google, you can find anything. So then I think I actually searched Essex sexiest accent, and then I found some article from about 2001. That,
A friend of mine from Milan actually put it very well once. He says, if you torture numbers enough, the data will tell you anything you want.
Exactly, and that's exactly what it has done. Anyway, we are coming to the end of the show now. It has been wonderful talking to you, DJ Solo, about this pronunciation. I'm sure we will see you again soon, though, now, yeah?
Yeah. Thanks very much for having me on the show, and hopefully you'll at least hear me and see me, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to be friends with a posh person, but if anyone wants to hear anything from DJ Solo before the next time he's on the show, you have actually recently released a song, I believe. Is this right?
Yeah, and sorry to plug a Rock and Roll English podcast, but I have actually got a quick plug I'd like to put in there, which is...
Go for it. So when you plug something, it's when like an artist or something comes on a show and talks about their latest film, product, and we've got the biggest artist on here in the world, DJ Solo. So let's...
Well, thanks very much for listening then. The track is called Battle Colours, Must Be Special, and it's by Solo Sound System. You can find it on Spotify.
Solo Sound Systems. And just explain the DJ Solo, because that does cause some confusion sometimes, doesn't it?
It does, and I wish I had a different name now. But it's spelled S-O-L-O-W, as in it is so low to the ground, relating to the bass line.
Like the bass is so low, yeah? The bass of the... Yeah. Speaking of having a different name, I have the same with my email address. I have a nice email address. I was one of the first people to use Hotmail, I think. But then when I got a Gmail one, I just did it just to have it. And it's really ridiculous. And now, as the years have gone on and Gmail has become more important, I always have to give my Gmail one. And I always say to people, I always have to pass the story after of, yeah, but I only did this just as something else. I do have a normal email address.
I must say, I do I feel a bit of bias towards people that use Hotmail.
I mean, I know the sort of people that understand technology, Hotmail is not a thing anymore, but I'm old school, okay?
And I respect that. I think it's quality.
Exactly. Anyway, thanks a lot for your time again, DJ Solo. See you soon.
Oh, thanks, Martin. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so that was me and DJ Solo speaking about accents and just some posh stuff, really. If you would like to listen to DJ Solo's song, go to rockandrollenglish.com/episode 191 and it will be there, much like all of the rock and roll vocabulary, which we are going to look at now. So at the beginning, I said that DJ Solo was quite a raver back in the day. So two things there: a raver, someone that goes to a rave, and back in the day, the glory days, the good times. And I said that DJ Solo has earned his stripes for dancing at raves. So when you earn your stripes, it's when you're in the army and go in a battle, I suppose. I'm not so familiar with how it works because, as you can imagine, I don't really know so much about armies. But yes, you do some battles, you go to battle, I think that's the correct term, and they give you some stripes and then you can move up, much like DJ Solo. He's done the part of the dancing at the raves, now he's supplying the music, he's moved up in the world. And I said when we were at university, I was tucked up in bed by 10:30, so tucked up in bed, happily in bed, with my pyjamas, with my hot water bottle, really having a good time. And then DJ Solo apologised for waking me up at 4 o'clock in the morning and said, I can only make it up to you today. So make it up to you when you do something bad and then you do something good, to make it up to that person, to make it level, let's say. Then we were talking about the review and I said, sorry to burst your bubble here. So if you burst someone's bubble, you ruin their fun. Then we were talking about Clarification Charlie and he said that maybe he will make her blood boil. So if you make someone's blood boil, you make them angry. And I said, yes, you could have a posh off So this is a very slang term. If you just put off next to something, it becomes a competition. For example, let's have a drink off, a drinking competition. Let's have an eat off, an eating competition. As I said, very British slang, but very funny. Then DJ Solo said that he has been reading up on Posh stuff. So if you read up on something, you do some research, let's say, and obviously read some stuff. And then I asked him if he had ever come across any lords. So if you come across someone, you meet that person in your life. For example, in my life, I have never come across any lords. I have never met any lords, but as we know, DJ Solo has. Then we were talking about that specific lord, and DJ Solo said the point of that lord in the past was to stock up on army. So if you stock up on something, you get lots of it, okay? It's what's happening now in all of the supermarkets around the world. People are stocking up on things, buying lots of it. Then we spoke about the word bias in some detail as well, I might add. So remember, as DJ Solo explained, if you have a bias, it's your brain which automatically makes a decision for you, let's say, or at least gives you some extra information to make that decision. And I explained DJ Solo's explanation as much more in depth than mine. So if something is in depth, it's more complete, more detailed. Then I mentioned that from my neck of the woods, no one pronounces their T's. So my neck of the woods, from where I come from. Then we had some posh words for the toilet. We had lavatory or loo. Then we had a word which definitely isn't posh when we referred to it as the bog. That's really not a nice thing to say, just so we know. Then DJ Solo said he is a sucker for the French accent. So if you're a sucker for something, you can't control it. You love it. Someone speaks to you in a French accent and just you're like, oh God, wow, I can't control myself. I love you. Then DJ Solo was telling us about ASMR, I think, and said it's just like a nice noise, like the rain pattering against the window. So that's when the rain just hits the window, makes that nice noise. I don't know if that was a good impression of it, but I tried my best. We also had the word brag. So when you brag about something, you say how wonderful you are. If I say, oh, I won the race yesterday, I'm fantastic, then I am bragging. And then at the end, DJ Solo said, sorry to plug my song. So when someone plugs something, they go on a show and talk about their latest book or latest song or latest product. And speaking of that, remember, if you would like to listen to DJ Solo's song, go to rockandrollenglish.com/episode 191, and that's where you will find all of this rock and roll vocabulary. So I will see you all again next week, people, but in the meantime, just keep on rocking, baby.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.